Hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Bu özellikle yağmurlu akşamda iş çıkışı trafik saatine geldiğiniz için çok teşekkür ederiz. Oldukça kalabalık bir toplum şu anda. O yüzden yavaş yavaş arkadan oturursak konuşmalarımıza başlayacağız. Öncelikle ben size çok kısaca bugünkü akışla ilgili bilgi vermek istiyorum. Bildiğiniz gibi hepimize davet geldi. Bugün on-demand sektörünün yükselişi ve yaşadığımız bu future yani esnek iş gücüyle ilgili devrimi konuşuyor olacağız. Panelistlerimiz olacak ama öncesinde Amerika'dan canlı yayına bağlantılarımız olacak. Tekrar dediğim gibi geldiğiniz için çok teşekkür ediyorum. Bundan sonraki etkinliklerimiz için de bizim Expertera'nın meetup grubuna üye olabilir ya da e-mail grubumuza da üye olabilirsiniz. Ben şimdi sözü bugünkü etkinliğimizin gerçekleşmesini sağlayan sponsorumuz Expertera'nın kurucu ortağı Hayal Koç'a belirtmek istiyorum.
Geldiğiniz için çok teşekkür ederiz. Uzun zamandır Expertera olarak böyle bir etkinlik gerçekleştirmek istiyordum. O yüzden bu akşam çok heyecanlıyız. Bazılarınız biliyor ama Expertera geleceğin çalışma modelini hayatına geçiren bir startup. Biz farklı alanlardaki uzmanları şirketlerle bir araya tamamıyla esnek bir şekilde bir araya getiriyoruz. Bu etkinlikte amacımız Türkiye ve globaldeki bu on-demand dünyasının esnek iş gücü devrimi bir fiil bu konu uzmanları ve öncü girişimcilerden duymanız. Umarım etkinliğimizi beğenirsiniz. Tekrar geldiğiniz için çok teşekkür ederiz.
Bir de bu etkinliğimizin gerçekleşmesine destek olanlar var. Şimdi onlara söz vermek istiyorum. Öncelikle Garanti Bankası Şubesi Bankacılık Birimi Müdürü Sayın Deniz söz vereceğim. Buyurun.
Bayağı bir program var, o yüzden çok fazla tutmak istemiyorum size. Belki burada ilk defa burada bulunanlar için ufak bir bilgi vereyim. Garanti Bankası'nın hızlandırma programı. Burada yaklaşık 2 senedir Garanti Bankası var ve 2 senenin içerisinde toplamda 1500'den fazla girişimle görüşmüşlüğümüz var. Şu anda burada 12 tane girişimimiz var. 12 tane girişime mümkün olduğu kadar Garanti Bankası programının içerisinde ihtiyaçlarına uygun şekilde destekler olmaya çalışıyoruz. Bunlardan bir tanesi de Expertera. Expertera ile de çok yakından çalışıyoruz. Şimdi Garanti Bankası'nın çok detaylarına girmeye gerek yok ama ben de bir on-demand uzmanı değilim. Ama on-demand uzmanı olmamama rağmen açıkça söylemek gerekirse çalışma stratejisi anlamında yeni nesil çalışma veya yeni çalışma modelleri açısından on-demand'in bizim gibi corporate büyük kurumsal kurumlar için bile ne kadar önemli olduğunu çok açıkça görebiliyoruz. Şimdi çok ilginç bir nokta var. Yani dünyaya baktığımızda şu anda işte tüm nüfusların %50'sinin şehirlerde yaşadığını görüyoruz. Bu %50'lik nüfusun önümüzdeki 10 yıl içerisinde %80 olma ihtimali var. Şimdi bu %80 şu demek, eğer şehirde yaşıyorsanız zaten tüketimsel anlamda da çok daha farklı şeyler yapıyorsunuz. Yani herkes şehirde yaşamaya başladığında veya şehirleştiğinde ona göre daha farklı şeyler satın alıyor. Bunun içerisinde araba var, transportation içerisinde bir sürü şey var. Herkes bir şeyler satın alıyor. Fakat bu büyüme aslında sadece satın almayla yapılabilecek bir büyüme değil. O yüzden on-demand modeller önümüzdeki dönemde her türlü ekonomiyi, her türlü ekosistemi çok da canlandıracak modeller. Şimdi biz bir banka olarak normalde her şey yani çok büyük bir IT'miz var, 1500 kişi çalıştırıyoruz. Her şeyi kendimiz yapabiliriz değil mi? Bunu açıklıkla söyleyebiliriz. Ama bunun yerine gerçekten ihtiyaç anlarında her şeyin farklı ekspertizlerden, farklı iş güçlerinden, iş modellerinden yararlanmak bizim için çok kıymetli. Expertera ile mesela bu sene içerisinde şu an keşke hazır olsaydı da sizlerle paylaşabiliyor olsaydık ama Expertera ile yaptığımız mesela bir çalışmamız var. Öyle bir çalışma ki bizim uzmanlık alanımıza yakın fakat bunun dışında farklı ihtiyaçlar doğuracak bir rapor çalışması. Expertera kendi bünyesinde bulundurduğu 15.000'den fazla expert tarayarak bizim için en uygununu buldu. Biz onlarla oturduk, konuştuk, karşılıklı evet bu uygundur diye oturduk beraberce bu araştırma raporunu yazdık. Onlar bizim için ürettiler. Şimdi bu şöyle bir şey. Tabii ki de biz banka içerisinde bunu yazabilecek bir fokus yaratabiliriz. Ama bunun yerine biz oturuyoruz böyle bu tür on-demand sistemlerden faydalanabiliyoruz. Bu bir rapor örneği. Bu yarın farklı bir atıyorum kodlama ihtiyacınız olabilir. Bu farklı bir iş modeli olabilir. O yüzden on-demand sistemler çok önemli. Expertera'ya ben çok teşekkür ediyorum. Garanti Bankası'na çok büyük fayda sağlıyorlar, katkı sağlıyorlar. Özellikle de bizi de çok sevindiriyor burada olmaları. Şundan dolayı Top ve Endeavor'ın yanlış bilmiyorsam geçen ay 2 hafta önce açıklanan bir raporu var. Bu rapor da aslında Türkiye'nin en yenilikçi yüzü gibi en yenilikçi 100 ondan sonra şirketi diye bir sonucu var. Oraya giren bir Garanti Partners girişimi olması bizi de ciddi anlamda gururlandırıyor. Ben şimdi on-demand anlamında işi uzmanlara bırakayım. Ben de heyecanla dinliyor olacağım. Geldiğiniz için çok teşekkür ederiz.
Son olarak yine destekçimiz BUBA. BUBA'nın Yönetim Kurulu Başkanı Sayın Tunç'un bilgileri söz vermek
Teşekkürler efendim. Ben de çok kısa konuştuğum için. Burada Garanti Bankası'nın desteğiyle Garanti Partners'ta gerçekten yeni dünyanın yeni iş yapış şekline ayak uyduran, hatta onları öncülük yapan girişimleri bir arada tutup burada bir sinerji yaratıp buradan Türkiye'nin çekim gücünü oluşturmaya çalışıyoruz. Expertera de bunlardan biri. Biz de onlarla beraber burada çalıştığımız için gerçekten çok mutluyuz. On-demand gibi artık danışmanlık sektörü veya diğer consulting sektörlerini disrupt eden ve yeni iş modellerine uyduran bir startup Expertera. Gerçekten biz de kendilerinden çok yararlanıyoruz. Buradaki tüm girişimlerde onlardan çok yararlanıyor. Bu akşam da çok güzel bir organizasyon yapmışlar. Sizlere bu bağlı Garanti Partisi'ne tekrar hoş geldin diyorum. Sözü yine sizlere bırakıyorum.
Şimdi ilk bağlantımıza geçeceğiz. Jack Morgan aslında kendisi oldukça yoğun biri. Biz burada kendisinin olmasını istemiştik, davet ettik. Ancak yoğun gündeminden dolayı bağlantı yapalım dedik ve biz de aslında bunun çok daha güzel bir şey olacağına karar verdik. Çünkü bugün konuşacağımız şey tam olarak bu. Artık sınırlar yok, ülkeler yok. Artık global bir ülkeden bahsediyoruz, tek bir ülkeden bahsediyoruz ve iş yapış şeklinde bu yüzden değiştiğini söylüyoruz. O yüzden şimdi 2 tane canlı yayın bağlantı konumuz olacak. İlk önce Jack'la bağlanacağız. Hemen koyalım.
Daha güzel oldu. Daha yakın. Atodaydı zaten ya. Şimdi daha iyi oldu sanki ya.
Okay.
Diane, we'll be with you in 10 minutes, okay? Hello? Jacob, can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello. We cannot see you, but we can hear you.
Oh, hang on, let me fix that. Hopefully now you can see me.
Yes, we can see. Can you see the crowd?
I can. Hello.
Well, we can't wait to hear what you're going to say about the future of work. We are all here, gathered here to hear what you are going to tell us and the hints. Okay.
Alright, so do you want me to go ahead and start?
Yeah, you can start. We're all here. Exactly. Great.
Okay, great. Well, hello everyone. Thanks so much for joining. I wish I could be there in person, but sadly, thousands of miles away. So as I understand it, we're going to talk a little bit about the future of work. I'll just give you a couple of minutes as far as my perspective goes, and then I think we'll do kind of a little bit of a Q&A or an interview, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions. So whatever questions you might have around the future of work, feel free to throw them my way. So I won't do an introduction really. I'll just assume that you guys have somehow come across my content, but if not, you can always, I'm sure the folks there will tell you more about me. Future of work has been a pretty interesting space for me over the past few years. I had bad jobs working for other people years ago, and so ever since I had those terrible jobs working for other people, I've been very interested in understanding what the future of work is going to look like. And oftentimes we get stuck thinking that the future of work is something that happens to us, but the reality is that the future of work is something that we have to create. So we design what the future of work is going to look like. It's not something that we wait and see what's going to happen to us. And so there are a couple of key changes that we're starting to see inside of our organizations when it comes to the future of work. There are a couple of trends and a couple of factors that companies need to pay attention to. So broadly speaking, we have these new behaviors that we're starting to see as far as how we communicate, how we collaborate, how we engage with each other. We have a new generation of workers, so the millennials, and younger generations that are entering our organizations. We have globalization that's entering our organizations and spreading all over the world, which means that we can find and retain the best talent anywhere in the world. For me, for example, I have an entire team that I work with, and I've never met any of them. I have a designer that works in the Philippines. I have my video and audio guy is in Serbia. I have an assistant that's in Houston. I have somebody that helps me with writing in another part of the world. And so globalization has really allowed organizations to tap into this big talent pool anywhere in the world. Then we also have things like mobility, which is being able to stay connected anywhere, anytime, and on any device. And technology, broadly speaking. And you could talk about technology alone for hours, but we have AI and artificial intelligence, we have self-driving cars, we have the Internet of Things, big data. All of these concepts are really forcing organizations to think differently about what it means to work. And so finally what's happening is that organizations are realizing that because of these 5 trends and because of the rapid pace of change that we're starting to see now, that these organizations genuinely have to make investments in thinking about how work is changing. We've seen a lot of organizations go out of business. We've seen organizations lose market share. So we're seeing a very dramatic and turbulent business landscape as far as the workplace goes. And today's change is very different than it was before because today's change is actually happening much faster. So decades ago, if there was a new technology or something new that was happening, you could kind of wait and see maybe decide if you want to do that or not. Today we no longer have that luxury. Today the pace of change is so fast that you can't wait and see what other people are doing. You have to be one of the leading organizations that are on the forefront of investing in these things.
Because if not, other organizations are just going to take off and see exponential growth, and you're going to get stuck behind them. And so this impact, I think, is really starting to show, and my next book is actually all about employee experience. And so to prepare for the future of work, regardless of whether you talk about AI and technology or not, you still have to have people. Technology cannot exist without people, but people can exist without technology. So we still need to think about how do we attract and retain the best people. And so although technology is important, I think we're seeing organizations around the world investing billions of dollars into this new area of employee experience. Now, how do we create organizations where people actually want to show up to work? And that to me is kind of the next big area that we're starting to see as far as organizational investment. So one of the other things that I'll look at is technology and how we can prepare ourselves. Technology is tough, right? Because on the one hand, you see in the news that AI is going to take away jobs and that we have autonomous vehicles. Meanwhile, we have trouble connecting a printer to the Wi-Fi, right? Or we are stuck using old technologies inside our organizations. So we have a little bit of a technology paradox. And we need to upgrade the technologies that we use inside of our organizations that we can actually get our jobs done. So how do we prepare for this new type of work so quickly and where change is very turbulent? Again, I could talk for probably an hour just on this topic alone, but I think the best piece of advice I can give organizations is to think of yourselves like a laboratory and less like a factory. So from all the organizations that I've interviewed, and there's been many hundreds of them, the one thing that these organizations all say that they do is they test things. They treat their organization like a laboratory. They test new technologies, they test new ideas. If it doesn't work, they move on to the next one. You have to keep experimenting and playing around with what's coming your way. I think that's ultimately the best way to prepare for what's coming. That and investing in the experiences of your people. Because as I said, even though technology is causing a lot of disruptive change, it's still the people that are having to make these investments. It's still the people that are running and building these organizations. So if you invest in the experiences of your people, they're going to go above and beyond to help make sure that your organization will be able to survive and thrive and grow as we think about the future of work. So we have to continue to invest in the people and think of your organization like a lab and less like a factory. So personally, I think the future of work is a very, very exciting space. There's a lot of dramatic changes that we're starting to see in many, many different areas. But I think, again, that this is something that we have to create, not something that we need to wait for it to happen to us. So I'm happy to answer any questions about any of these things because I know there's a lot of different topics and discussions that we can look at. So please, if you have questions, ask away, whether it's about technology or anything else, I'm happy to do my best to answer them.
Okay, so does anyone have a question for Jacob? Don't miss this chance.
Hi, I'd like to ask you a question. I don't know if you've been in Turkey very often. Can you hear me?
Yes, no, I've been to Turkey before.
Yeah. Well, we've got big corporations who are very, who don't move so fast. You know, they won't dismantle as easy, so it takes time to gather that change. So how is it happening in the States or any other country where people can come to embrace trans fairly quickly? You know, in countries like ours, it takes time for all the management to understand, to get there. So how would you see, how does it develop there, and how would you see developing in our country, Turkey, countries like us?
Great question. So ultimately, it's not organizations that change, it's people. So all change is driven by people. And it depends on the organization, right? I mean, there are some, of course, very forward-thinking organizations in the United States, companies like T-Mobile and Cisco, where they have executives that really understand how things are changing and then they make investments in them. But there are, trust me, plenty of organizations in the United States where we have managers and executives that are just completely oblivious to what's going on and they do nothing. And we've seen what happens to these types of companies. In the United States, we've had Blockbuster, we've had Kohl's, we've had Lehman Brothers, we've had Tower Records, we've had
şey kontrol edelim. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I would hate to hear there was a fire. So getting back to the point, there are plenty of organizations here in the United States that have managers that are completely oblivious to what's going on, and those companies have largely disappeared. In the United States, there's a big problem in the business world where everybody's focused on short-term profits and short-term gains, quarterly profits, quarterly results. And so for a lot of companies, it's very hard for them to understand why should we invest in something that can take years when our stock is measured in quarterly profits. And there are, like I said, some organizations around the world, some leaders who represent them, who understand that the future of business isn't about taking market share away from other people, it's not about revenue, it's not about profitability, it's about outlasting the competition. And outlasting the competition is very different than saying we're going to make more money than them, we're going to take away more market share from them. Those are very short-term ways of thinking about work, whereas outlasting the competition is a very long-term way to think about work. And I think that's a big shift that organizations need to make everywhere in the world. So I haven't studied organizations specifically in Turkey, but I know that in all other parts of the world, India, China, I've worked with organizations in both parts of the world there, Europe, plenty of organizations as well. And there are always some managers and some executives that understand it, and some managers and some executives who don't. And so regardless of the country that you look at, it's not the organizations that are making the change, it's the senior executives who represent them. And I think part of what's going to happen, and at least part of what we've been seeing in the United States, is that there's going to be kind of this natural push. Executives that aren't able to understand how things are changing, their businesses will either slowly start to disappear, or they will be forced out of their organizations and replaced by people who do understand what's happening. And we've seen this in the United States, I think we've seen this elsewhere in the world as well. India is one of the most hierarchical parts of the world as far as how their organizations are structured. And interestingly enough, over the past few months, I've been getting tons of emails and phone calls from organizations in India who are saying that their managers and executives are starting to understand that they need to make these changes in investments. So I think that we are definitely starting to see this kind of a push happen, but it's going to happen faster in some parts of the world versus others. I think the United States will be a little bit faster. I think Europe is also doing some interesting things. But other parts of the world like China, I think will be a little bit slower. I think parts of the world like India or Japan might be a little bit slower. But over time, all these organizations I believe are going to have to adapt. Otherwise, they quite simply won't be around. So part of it, I think, is this mentality of shifting to the long game, right? Shifting to how do you outlast the competition, not how do I make more money than them. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. Does anyone have a question? Okay.
Hi, Jacob. First of all, I'd like to thank you for asking this question to you directly. Actually, can you hear me?
I can a little bit, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody is talking about the gig economy on demand future of work. I'm sorry. Everybody is talking about the future of the work, gig economy, on demand workforce. But
yes.
I think many of the people, especially the human resource managers, are not aware of the incoming change about the future of work and the workforce from the human resources perspective by taking account the crowdsourcing, as a resource. What do you think about what kind of effects all the human resource management in the new era of work, the future of work?
So that's been a very, very big topic of discussion, as I'm sure you've heard, pretty much everywhere, the gig economy, right? Uber, freelancer.com, upwork.com, airbnb.com, all of these people who are making a living outside of traditional means. Now, there have been a lot of studies that have been done in the United States and elsewhere in the world that have looked at how big the gig economy is. And some of these reports say it's going to be 40 million people by the year 2020. Some people say it's very, very tiny. Unfortunately, at least in the United States, the government isn't collecting data on this. They're going to start collecting the data this year, so we will actually know how big this space, how big the gig economy is. But as of now, at least in the United States, nobody really knows how big the space is. There was a recent study that was done, actually a couple of recent studies that were done by financial institutions, by JP Morgan Chase, and by some very famous economists. And they found out that at least in the United States, the gig economy is actually very small. It's very, very tiny, and most of the gig economy in the United States is being driven by Uber. So if you were to take away something like Uber, the gig economy would be almost non-existent, at least in the United States. Now, not every report agrees with that. Some of them say it's much bigger, some say it's much smaller, it's hard to say. But one thing that we know is for sure is that it is growing. So the gig economy is growing, and the relationship between employees and employer is changing. So my advice for HR managers would be to start small. You don't need to all of a sudden change everything and say we're only going to hire freelancers, but you need to have a little bit of a hybrid workforce. So you will still have full-time employees, you might have some part-time employees, but chances are you will also have some freelance employees that you can work with. So if I was in HR, I would allocate a small budget for various teams to give them access to something like an Upwork.com or Freelancer.com. These people inside our organizations around how to tap into the freelance and the gig economy when and where they need it. Again, it doesn't mean you put millions of dollars into this space, but start small and experiment with it, because as this industry, as this space starts to grow, you want to build those capabilities to make sure that you can deal with it. So that means also understanding which technologies should you use for communication and collaboration? How do you train HR and business managers to find the right people? All that sort of stuff, I think, are areas that we need to invest in. But I don't think full-time employment is going to go away. None of the research shows that that's going to happen, not even in the distant future. I mean, even 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, the vast majority of people that work for your organization will be full-time employees. But still, you will have a little bit of a hybrid workforce where there might be some really amazing people that you want to work with that are only doing freelance work. And so you need to be prepared to work with that type of a workforce. So I would say start small, make small investments in that space, play around with it, and see how you can build that muscle.
So we are coming to the first point, as you said before. Let's behave like a laboratory instead of factory from this perspective.
Yes.
Yes, I heard you right. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay, so thank you, Jacob, for sharing invaluable impressions with us. It was really, it was really an enjoyable moment. And thank you. We know that your schedule is really tight, and apart from that, So we really thank you for taking the questions and sharing your ideas about the future of economy, the future of work, and the gig economy. And thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. And I'm always available. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to send me an email or join the newsletter or whatnot. Visit the site. There's a lot of content on there too.
Yes, and just want to remind everyone, if you have any additional questions, you can always tweet the question via our hashtag #WorkOnDemand or #JJ.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Hello, Diane. Sorry for
Hi,
waiting.
how are you?
Hello, and good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, so can you see the room?
I can see the road, yes.
It's really crowded and they're waiting.
That's good news.
Okay, so now we are going to talk a bit about the gig economy. And as you can see, she's the author of a best-selling author of the gig economy book. And now we would like to hear a bit about what gig economy is. I mean, everyone's talking about gig economy. This is like the hip thing now. But can you tell us a bit about what the gig economy is?
Yes, and that's a great place to start because I think when a lot of people hear the term gig economy, they think that it means Uber drivers, and it is so much more than that. The way that I define the gig economy is if you're not a full-time employee in a full-time job, then you're in the gig economy. So if you are a consultant, an advisor, a contractor, a freelancer, a part-time worker, or an on-demand worker, then you're in the gig economy.
Okay. So, you know, it's now being more popular. So what can you say about like how fast this is growing in the world?
Yeah, I mean, the gig economy is really growing very quickly, at least here in the U.S. When I started teaching my MBA class on the gig economy 5 years ago, nobody had really heard about it. People used to ask me, what is this thing that you're talking about? And now the course is oversubscribed. It was named as one of the most innovative courses in the U.S. The gig economy is talked about everywhere. It was in the U.S. presidential debates. It's in articles. So it's really, I think, caught on, and everybody is familiar with the term, and it represents the future of work.
Okay, so you have actually witnessed how it was growing in your classes too. So what was your own personal experience about the economy, like being a part of it?
Yeah, I mean, my experience is during the past, let's say, 10 years of my career, I've worked full-time jobs, but I've also been an independent contractor, I've been a freelance writer, and I've been a consultant. So I have worked a number of independent jobs, and I have been a freelancer, and I've done gigs on the side. So I have a broad range of experience in most parts of the gig economy. I've also taken advantage of flexible work to take a lot of time off. I've taken 2 different years off to travel around the world.
So now we're talking about the advantages of being a part of the gig economy. Can you tell us like a bit about the advantages if we are to get into the gig economy?
Yeah, I think the biggest advantage is it's safer and more secure. I know that a lot of people think that working a full-time job represents the most security and is the safest way to go. But in our economy today, companies are so frequently getting acquired, they're merging, they're going out of business, and they are very regularly eliminating jobs or outsourcing them or automating them or contracting them out, that no full-time job is really safe or secure. So when there's no job security, it's actually much safer to diversify and put together a portfolio of gigs.
Okay, so as you said, people are really scared about working like as a freelancer or being a part of the gig economy. So what would you recommend them so that they don't be scared about getting in the gig economy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that people, change is often frightening, and the gig economy represents a big change in how we work. We're going from working a full-time job for one employer to working a portfolio of gigs for multiple clients. So it is a big change, and people are frightened about that. I think the best way to deal with that is to really focus on how much opportunity there is in the gig economy to get a portfolio of interesting and challenging work, and to have a much safer and more secure work life because you have multiple clients and multiple streams of income. So I think really focusing on the opportunities and recognizing that the gig economy can be safer and bring more security is the way to deal with some of that fear.
Okay, and apart from security, in one of your interviews, you were talking about like doing portfolio management for the sake of living your own lifestyle, for the lifestyle that you are aspiring. So can you talk a bit about that, because that's something really important. I mean, living the lifestyle that you aspire, and that is actually one of the advantages I think of the economy. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the first chapter in my book, because I think it is so important and so critical to the gig economy. And the chapter is called Defining Your Own Success. And throughout my book, I use a lot of the exercises that I use in my class that I have the students do. And I sort of guide the reader through many of the same exercises. But I talk about this idea of being really thoughtful and intentional about what success means to you and what kind of lifestyle you want to lead. Because in the gig economy, you really have to go out and generate the revenue to cover the costs of whatever lifestyle you choose. So rather than defaulting into, at least here in the US, the traditional American dream, I really challenge readers to think pretty carefully about what they want personally and what success looks like to them, so that they can then go out and live a lifestyle that is meaningful to them.
And one last thing before we go through the questions. Can you just give us the advice that you are giving in your own MBA class to the students, as if we are like your students?
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of my students and maybe members in the audience, you might already be working a full-time job. So there are two key pieces of advice that I recommend pretty highly for people to start right away. One is to just think about starting to get into the gig economy immediately through a side gig. So even if you have a full-time job, think about, what can I do on the side? And it doesn't even have to generate income. I would remove that pressure and just say, what are some activities that I can do in addition to my full-time job? Can I volunteer? Can I sit on a board? And the reason that's valuable to do is, even if you're not generating income, you're improving your skills and you're expanding your network, both of which opens up future opportunities. But right from the beginning, I think starting a side gig is the way to go. The second piece of advice is to put together an exit strategy for leaving the job that you're in. And I have an exercise about that in my book, but really just imagining that you knew that you were going to lose your job in 6 months. What are the things that you would do to prepare for that? And making a list of those things, personally, professionally, financially, and starting to do those things now so that you're always prepared for change. You're never caught by surprise or caught in a bad situation.
I love this. This is really great advice for most of the people working with full-time job. Okay, so does anyone have questions for Diane?
Hello. The gig economy requires the gig workers, I guess. And would you say that in order to be able to kind of market yourself as a gig worker, you have to be specialized in certain field where you are one of the best at a very specific field, and that would create the demand for the services?
Is that the question? Do you need to be skilled?
Yeah, you need, in the gig economy, you have to be highly specialized in what you do, so that you have a unique kind of specialty that is highly marketable.
Yes. I certainly think that if you have an in-demand skill or specific deep expertise, it's certainly much easier to enter the gig economy and to be successful and to put together a portfolio of work and to make good money doing that. I don't think it's a requirement. I think, at least here in the U.S., there are a lot of examples of people who are, accountants or executive assistants or writers, skills that are fairly broad, who are able to succeed in the gig economy. So I think you have an advantage if you have a really specialized skill that's in demand, but I don't think it's a requirement.
My question is this: not everybody is fit to be a manager, a director. So, is the gig economy for everyone? Is there such a thing as everybody can do something in the gig economy, or is it like, you really need to know who you are, and maybe the gig economy is not for you?
Well, I think anybody can do something in the gig economy, and I think one of the advantages is, like I was just talking about with side gigs, even if you're in a full-time job, what the gig economy opens up in terms of opportunities is a way to test and experiment in a very low-cost, low-risk way other things that you might like to do. So if you want to sell a service or sell a product or, experiment with going out on your own, you can start with a side gig and determine, is there demand for the service that I'm providing, or how much are people willing to pay? And for people who really just want to make extra money and aren't necessarily interested in entering the gig economy with a specific skill, there are opportunities for at least in the U.S., things like TaskRabbit and Instacart and driving and Airbnb. There's a lot of opportunities that I think most people can avail of without having a particular business idea or a specialized skill that they have to bring to the table. So I certainly think the gig economy can be for anybody. I've had students in my class go out and start earning money in the gig economy within a semester. So I also think that it's very accessible, which makes it attractive, for people who have often been on the margins of the labor market and have found it difficult to access because they don't want a full-time job. Think about, somebody who wants to work part-time, somebody who have a full-time job, either who don't want to earn money or to stay engaged.
Okay, and one last question. This opportunity to ask you the last question. Next one. I'm just thinking, do you have any suggestions for people to kind of get over their fear of doing their full-time jobs to kind of get into the gig economy? And I know you mentioned a few things about getting a side job while you still have your permanent job or not, but it's also on a psychological level, how do you sort of get over that? It kind of connects to the previous question, maybe ask is there a specific type of personality or whatever?
Yeah, and I think fear is real, and I have a whole chapter in my book on, that walks the reader through exercises to overcome the fears that they have about maybe leaving their full-time job. Putting together an exit strategy is a really empowering exercise. So I really recommend that. Even just going through and understanding the things that you would need to do to feel comfortable leaving your job, and then starting to execute on that. Just having that momentum and feeling of control is very powerful. But in the fear and risk chapter, I really focus on, walking the reader through a series of exercises in which you identify your fears and then really get very specific about, what are those really concrete, specific risks that you're worried about, and then what steps can you take to overcome that? And again, it's the same idea as the exit strategy exercise. Just by identifying things, being really specific and concrete, and then starting to take action, that can be a huge way, just a very effective way to deal with the fears that you have and then start to overcome them. So I really recommend those exercises. They're very powerful.
Thank you so much, Diane. And
Thank you for having me.
thank you. I mean, it was really lovely talking to you and hearing your impressions on the gig economy, sharing your expertise with us. And talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.